Hello. Is Jill around?
Jill B?
Yeah.
I believe she is still inside.
I'm supposed to pick her up for a little drive around.
Oh, doing an interview?
Yeah.
Dino, right?
Yes. Are you the husband?
No.
Oh.
Adam Hoffer, no.
Oh, hey.
My wife Leslie's inside.
Oh, okay.
I've seen your shows and stuff. That's
Yeah.
great. You're still doing this.
I sure am, man. I just keep
great.
going.
Awesome.
Over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done a lot of. How many total?
I don't know. I honestly,
Lost
I should
count.
probably sit down and figure it all out
Yeah.
sometime.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy.
Thanks.
Good to see
Nice to see you. Take care.
Yeah. See you, Joe. He's doing an interview.
Hi, Jill.
How are you?
Good, you?
Am I in the back or in the front?
No, you're right here.
All right. It was a little warmer today than I thought.
And I know. I had a jacket on earlier, and I'm
Just like forget
loving
it.
this. This is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, thanks for picking me up.
Sure. How's church going?
Great. Love church.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love the community here.
How long you been out here?
Well, I've been coming to this church since 2003, but I was full-time. I became full-time in 2014.
2014?
Yeah. But I've been coming to the island since 2003.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Indiana, huh?
I know.
What brought you out here?
No, I think Jason Bridges is from Indiana too.
Hey, Jim.
Bye, Mayan.
Jason Bridges, huh?
I think he is.
Is he?
I was thinking that's
He's
kind
got that
Maybe his family just
Midwestern
lives there.
sensibility. It's always refreshing, isn't it? We love the Midwesterners.
Of course.
Of course.
They're so not controversial.
Before we get going, what do you do out here? I've never met you. This is the first
Are we
time.
recording now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everything's live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Well, we're not live, but we're
Right.
recording.
Okay. So do you edit it at all?
Of course.
Yeah. I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we can talk about the campaign? Is that our plan?
Well, first I want to know a little bit about you.
No.
I mean, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people do. You just saw me come out of church.
Well, if I went to church, maybe I'd know. But so what do you do? I mean, do you have a job?
I do. We design. I've got a business called White Heart Design, and we design houses, and I do interior design work for people.
Okay.
And, build houses and rebuild houses or renovate.
You and your husband?
Yeah.
Yeah. So interior decorating and then renovation and all kinds of stuff?
Yeah.
Business
So anything from. Sometimes people just want a new kitchen. Sometimes they just want a new countertop. Sometimes they just want a new sofa.
Yeah.
And sometimes they really want their house to be completely redone. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get interested in decoration and this kind of work?
Well, I think I've always loved it. I mean, I don't think I ever considered doing that for a living as a child. I don't think that was anything that my parents were exactly promoting, but I loved it as a kid, and then so I've always been interested in interiors. I mean, and touring homes and historical homes, and I love all that.
Homes,
I mean,
right.
just good architecture, really.
Yeah.
Good architecture all over the world.
Okay.
And I've always been drawn to that. So I never really considered a career in doing that. But we renovated a house here, and then we sold it, and wanted to go on to the next house because we enjoyed that process so much. And really, I'll be honest with you, what really happened wasn't so much that aspect, although I enjoyed it. I loved the people in Nantucket that I worked with. And in particular, my tiler and my plumber. And so they would email me at 4 a.m, and I turned to my husband and I just said, "Who are these wonderful people?"
You think it's wonderful to be emailed at 4 a.m?
I loved it. I was like, these are the most hardworking people I have ever been around in my life.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it. And it really got to me. It's something like sunk in my soul. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to be around that all the time because it motivated me to be a better person and to do a better job for people. And I think that just is what really grabbed me. Okay. And I still work with my tailor and my plumber, and I just love them. I really do.
Great. Okay.
So that's kind of really how it became full-time here, and it was the people that drew me in.
So why are you running for select board?
I'm running because I think we have a lack of leadership on the board for responsible development. And that's somebody who, let me back up. I'm concerned. I knew when I moved here I was a little worried about the overdevelopment of the island. I didn't quite know. At that point you move here, you don't know how many permits are being given out and things like that. But I sensed that might be a problem. And now I just feel like I haven't seen anybody step up and say that. Not people on the board. And so I feel like the board needs a voice for someone to say, hey, we need to do things mindfully, and we need to do them with Nantucket in mind, and we need to consider what we're doing instead of just reacting and doing things.
When you say Nantucket in mind, what does that mean to you?
Downtown, keeping the historical character in mind, but on a bigger level, really the fact that we are an island and we're a sole source aquifer, and we import our electricity, and we have got to make sure that our infrastructure can handle what we're doing. And at the moment, I don't think it can. I mean, we had 3 million gallons of raw sewage fill into the harbor last winter, and yet we keep going down this path of high density. And so the high density developments that are coming online, and I think that they're really a threat, because one high density development begets another.
Okay.
Yep. So you've got the Richmond development, and that's going to beget Tacoma Green, and then that's going to beget.
Well, we're going to get into a bunch of that. So that's why you're running. Now, what experience
100%.
do you bring? I mean, have you done any? Have you ever been in government? Have you ever ran or been in government, or are you on any boards?
Here in town, I'm a member of Summer Street. I'm on the board of the Artists Association.
Oh, okay.
Those things. But yes, I did work in Washington, D.C. for a while, and so I know a little bit about it, but that was a long time ago. And,
All right.
I feel like this particular role is strictly about Nantucket and the needs of the island, so it's wholly different than what goes on off the island.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into some of the issues, okay?
Sure.
I'm just going to bring up...
around.
Yeah. Surfside Crossing.
Yep.
Tell me how you feel about that.
Well, I really decided to run because last summer I got involved with Nantucket Tipping Point.
Yep.
And I'm on the board of Nantucket Tipping Point. And we, have been trying to challenge that development, specifically the density of that development. And, it's unspoiled land. It has endangered species. And they want to come in and build 156 units. And they've been playing this game all year to change the plans around and change the density around. But it looks like they're still going to go back to the 156 units that they always were. So I feel like those developers at this point, it's clear that they've been acting in bad faith. But in that process, I learned a lot about the island, and about high density, and about housing, and the shy list, and all those things. And it's been a fabulous education. And I know a lot of people in Nantucket have fought developers over the years, so many have gone before me.
What do you think's going to happen there?
I don't know. He's pressing for a deadline. He wants the hearings to be closed, and he wants to move on. And I'm sure he's probably going to appeal to what they call the HAC, the Housing Appeals Committee. Okay. And he wants to move on and get going.
Well, something's going to get built there. Do you agree with that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Do you think it's possible to completely shut that down and have it just stay open space?
I think that there are 40 Bs in Massachusetts that have been beat. And I don't see why we don't have a chance to beat it. I really don't.
Okay.
And they've been beat because they weren't in character with the island, and because people, not just because they didn't want it, but that's not the right reason. But it wasn't in keeping with the character of the area that the developers were proposing to build. It was just totally out of character. And I think that this proposal is completely out of character with Nantucket.
Okay, but if they built a lot less, would that satisfy you, or do you just not want to see anything there?
I mean, I personally don't want to see anything there, but it's in Lug 2 zoning, so of
That's
course,
right. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd be able to stop something going there, but anyway.
Yeah, well, that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody completely sidestepping zoning. We have zoning here. I wish he would do something friendlier. I wish he would have approached it a different way. We have other 40Bs on Nantucket that, we have Abrams Quarry and Mayakame 1 and 2. We faced them before, and some people, couldn't make it work, but he's determined, and I think the grassroots initiative here in Nantucket's determined too.
Okay, how do you feel about affordable housing, and in particular the Tobias and Rick
The Article 37?
Yeah.
I'm opposed to it. And I'm opposed to it because it's basically saying, hey, the town needs to come in and become developers. And I think it's taking out potentially first-time home buyers. And I think it would drive up prices on property because once people here realize that, oh, the town might buy it, I think I'll just increase my price a little bit more because obviously the government has greater borrowing authority than a single individual.
I see. So do you think that, so instead of buying what's on the market, the person would, before they put it on the market, they'd already know that the town was interested, so they'd up the price?
Well, why wouldn't they? I mean,
why would the town buy it if it's too expensive?
What I'm saying is it's just going to be a creep where everything's going to go up. So, if he's targeting a property, at $1.5 million, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, it's going to be a little bit more if I think that this is a good opportunity for the town. But the bigger problem with it is that, the town can't even get Tacoma Green done. So I don't know why we think that they can get this done. This is not in their wheelhouse. We have groups that already do these things. We have Habitat for Humanity. There is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and there's Housing Nantucket. She manages a number of properties on island. And I don't know why we need to create another group.
But we have to meet our quota, right? We have to meet that quota that the state says we have to meet for affordable housing.
Yes, and that law's been in place since 1969. I mean, again, talk about an absolute failure of leadership to deal with the problem.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's appalling.
It's really kind of been we've had to do it now. Now we have to do it because we kept kicking it down the road.
Well, we've needed to do it since 1969.
Yeah, right.
So, yes, we need to get on top of it. But it's very hard to get on the shy list, and especially individual properties like that.
Okay.
It's a lot more complicated than hey, we'll just put somebody in a house and that satisfies that.
Right.
And what are these houses? And, he was talking about adding secondary structures and tertiary structures and, that's building costs involved. So, because he wants to put 3 families. Well, then you got to find houses that are in a tertiary zone. I mean, there are just a lot of challenges with it, and I don't see that being really feasible.
How do you feel about?
What I want them to do is, try to settle their lawsuit with Tacoma Green. That's something that the select board can do, and I hope they will do.
Okay. What about affordable housing around the Stop and Shop? Would that make a good place to put it? Therefore, people could walk to the Stop and Shop. There would be less traffic. I mean, do you agree that we do have a problem with supplying teachers, cops, seasonal workers with housing?
Yeah, but seasonal workers isn't going to help us with the shy list. So that isn't, that's a whole other issue.
That's another issue, right?
Yeah,
so that would be separate. Like apartments.
So if we're saying that the first and foremost thing we want to do is deal with the shy list, the 183 people on the Housing Nantucket list, they're on the Housing Nantucket wait list, they are up to 110% of AMI and below. The shy list requires we are providing housing for people at 80% of AMI and below. We currently have approved, and the voters approved because the town told us to do it, the Richmond development.
Yep.
That's 225 units. The Tacoma Green is another 64 units. So that's actually even more units than what's on the Housing Nantucket wait list.
I thought we were shy of just a few, but...
No, we only have 132 units on the shy list. We're supposed to be at 490, and I'm sure that's going to change with the new census as well, which is coming up.
Yep. Should we sewer Matticat?
We probably should, but I would very much want to be confident that that is what the people of Matticat want. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you, because we're only 132 units on the shy list, that makes us vulnerable to 10 more Surfside crossings right now. Mm-hmm. So on a personal level, I would tell everybody on island, don't go on the sewer right now until we've dealt with this problem, because that's where the developers target properties. Okay. People in town sewer and water. But that's just my own personal view. If the people
it's going to be almost 100 million. So
yeah,
I mean that's the other issue.
Yeah, I mean it's not something that can be done overnight.
Right.
It's not, it's not that easy to say, oh, well, we'll just put sewer in Matticat. It's not easy.
How do you feel about the landfill?
again, I just don't see. Okay, well, this goes back to my larger issue of density on Nantucket. You know, we need this carrying capacity study because that should be able to tell us what we can and cannot handle and what's coming in the pipeline. Not to be cheeky about it, but literally what's coming in our pipeline. And, you know, what are we going to do? We're going to start a campaign to schematic it? Because it's getting bigger. It's not getting smaller.
Exactly, but I mean, we're building like crazy.
When you talk about high density building, that's when you're talking about a lot of density of human beings. So there's two ways to look at density. It's buildings and it's human beings. Mm-hmm. A lot of the buildings here, if you look at the permits, they're like for like permits.
Yeah.
You know, that happens. But when you talk high density, then you're really talking about a lot of stress all at the same time in the same place. Surfside Crossing, for example, the stresses, I mean, they're paving over the force main that we have. You know, that's a lot of impervious surface that they want to put there for all their parking and their lights and, you know, the services that they need to provide to do a minimum of like 300 bedrooms and possibly more. We don't know the answer to that yet.
How about water quality? And
I'm very concerned about that. That would be my...
That's why...
That's really the larger issue. We're sole source aquifer.
Yep.
And we need to be testing for the right things. And I know that Mark Willett is very open to doing that. But what I would like to do as part of this carrying capacity study is really evaluate it to protect our water.
And how do you feel about fertilizers?
They're terrible, and we need to be enforcing that rule. I think it's hard to enforce that rule, but I don't think we have any enforcement. And that really bothers me.
At some point, we're going to have to say no to any kind of chemical if we really want to keep our water clean and start doing the things that we know we need to do
I totally
for
agree.
the environment. It's just terrible how we've allowed things to get to the point where, you know, the insects are dying, bees are dying,
Yep.
ocean's full of plastic that's breaking down, and fish are eating now microplastics, and we're eating them. I mean, when are we going to actually start to say as a human race that, you know, we've got to stop doing what we're doing and change the way we do things, right?
But that's what's so great, you know, about living on an island is
I
that we
think we should
actually
be
can do
encouraging
it.
more. Yeah, we can. And when 60,000 people come here every week and we get whatever changeover it is and they see what we're doing, they're going to bring back those ideas to their little community. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be taking the bull by the horns and leading.
Protecting our water. Over at Cape Cod, that Hyannis and Barnstable had a lawsuit over the water, and they had settled for like $12 million because they had these horrible chemicals in their water, and it was related to this foam that the fire department sprays. And we don't want to be in this situation where we wake up 60 years from now and we say, oh, gosh, I wish we protected our water better. And then what are you going to do? Go to a desalination plant?
Right.
Do you think Surrey Maticat's expensive?
No kidding. All right. What about our island home? What should we do with that?
Well, I toured over there, and it's they have great people working there. I'm so impressed. It's such a nice community, and it sounds like they're going to renovate it now for the time being. And I know that they want to move and they want to keep looking at that. But for now, it sounds like they feel like renovating is the right step and just taking smaller steps forward.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
I know they also want to look at a new salt marsh center. I'm open to that. You know, obviously cost is a concern.
Sure.
But I really want to do this carrying capacity study, and I want to mobilize the island. I want to get everybody behind it. I mean,
but that's more money. Lots more money to.
Do you know how much money they spend on consultants anyway? We have the data here. We know how much water we know how much water that we pull. We know what's coming in and out of the sewer. There's already a lot of data to work from. So I think it's more about coordinating that data and finding the right expert to do that. And I hope that they're more of a water
It just seems like we're one of the last that has a nursing home, and we take care of it. And all the other nursing homes that around the state are for profit.
Right.
Are you in favor of universal health care?
Universal health care?
Yeah.
No, I'm not actually.
You're not. You profit.
Really not.
You think it's better to have profit making health care?
I think I want people to be empowered to buy the health care that they need.
But if they didn't have to buy the health care, if they didn't have to, let's just take our island home, for instance. If we had universal health care, that would be taken care of. That would not be something we'd have to worry about. because it would be a collective around the entire country.
Yeah, but you
therefore,
can't
all the nursing homes would be taken care of.
But then
you don't think they're going to?
But then you're really well. I think if you want to talk about making the nursing home private, or bidding that out to a private company,
But nobody wants it. Can't make enough money. So
Well-
that's the problem. We can't get rid of it.
again, the land is so expensive. I mean, it's really
Hey,
hard.
nobody wants to run a nursing home for well, some do, but I mean they're very expensive, and everybody wants to make a buck. So then
Yeah.
you got people chunking in on everything to make a buck, and it gets confusing. Okay, so I got that. All right, now traffic. We got to
Terrible.
Huh?
It's terrible.
Are we putting the cart before the horse by building density and houses before we think about what the traffic's going to be like?
We are.
Okay.
We totally are.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this because it's not part of my nature, but islands are different and we can control things here. And I really do think we need to look at, I don't know if it's limiting cars, but maybe permitting cars. Now, the problem with that is everybody tends to find ways around these things, so it's hard to address that.
Okay.
It's tricky because people will be like, oh, well, my neighbor gets 3 cars, so maybe I'll get his car for the summer. People... But gosh, the world is pretty innovative, and I see so many people using Uber now and riding their bikes now that, I think there are alternatives.
Encourage more alternatives. Bike paths, I mean, obviously, those are great.
Right. I think somebody asked me, like, what do you think about a parking garage downtown? And I'm like, what do you mean a parking garage downtown? I was like, I think...
Oh, yeah, it's been talked about.
No, I know,
Could
but
happen.
I actually think... I don't mind there being some parking downtown. I'm not saying
But
that.
not a parking garage.
But I actually think that we should have more pedestrian streets downtown in the summer.
Okay.
This is a family-friendly island. And I think that would be wonderful if we welcome people that way. Maybe that whole area around the Athenaeum or something would be really nice to have more pedestrians. So,
All right.
I'm not trying to bring more cars to town, that's for sure.
Okay. There's 2 seats available. Let's say you take one. Who would you pick out of the group?
I can't answer that. I was like, you gotta let the voters decide that. I can't answer that.
Why can't you? You're a voter.
I know, but I want somebody on the board who wants to help me with the carrying capacity study.
Does anybody? There's no one on. None of the other candidates that.
I haven't heard them say it, but maybe they did and I missed it.
Okay.
That's possible.
Okay. So that's where you stand. No one has
I don't see
closely
anybody
related to your point of view.
They might have. I haven't heard anyone talk about carrying capacity study, but I don't see anybody talking about responsible growth. I see them talking about we need to build more affordable housing, we need to buy people houses, we need to spend more money. That's what I see. And to me, all that tells me is that we're going to get bigger roads, wider roads, we're going to get more traffic, we're going to get more density. So I feel like that's going in the wrong direction, and I'd like to be a voice on the board to say, hey, let's evaluate what we have and where are we, and let's have an honest conversation about what we're capable of doing.
And is there anything else you'd like to say to the voters before?
Vote Vieth on April 9th.
That's good enough. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jill. Good to meet you.
You too.
All right. You have yourself a great day.
Hey, you too.
And look for this
I've already
real
had a
soon.
great day. Okay.
Okay, like real soon.